please ask your question.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I was listening to you respond to some of the questions earlier, and one of my questions was touched on, so I guess I'll move on to the next one. But just to piggyback off job creation, one of the major aspects of job creation under the MPP is the NACO program. And quite recently, you would recall said that they were threatening to go on a demonstration because they were owed 9 months arrears. Now, even Heal Ghana, and this is something I followed keenly, so I've had conversations with them. Heal Ghana, even before the 9 months, were owed 7 months. And so if you combine the two, you're complaining that you haven't been paid 16 months arrears, and that's a major problem. What do you intend to do about it? And if I can quickly, this was just a piggyback.
No,
so
I have
no
question.
If I could just ask briefly.
So that Fiaco can come. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
If there is an opportunity. Thank you, Fiaco.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Excellency. I want to take my question from your manifesto for this year's election, and I'm looking at provide better health care for all. Now, you did mention that you were going to offer incentives for healthcare workers to buy 1 vehicle each with engine capacity up to 1.8 liter. Now, for clarity purpose, is it that these vehicles, they will buy them outside and they will be duty free? If that is it, we know we have about 5 automobile companies in this country. Your government brought them. How would this policy boost their production and also enhance the kind of people they would want to work? Because if they are going to import these cars, we are not really helping them. Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm grateful.
Sheldon.
Let me remove my case. Before I proceed to ask my questions, I would like to emphatically state that these questions were not given to me by anyone. They are from my head, so I'm going to ask. Now, Mr. Vice President, my name is Sheldon. I represent Sheldon Studios. The first one is about 322 pharmaceutical doctors on social media right now are planning on suing the health ministry about unpaid, allowances. Now, for someone that has highlighted in your manifesto that when voted into power, you are going to, improve or help improve the condition of services when it comes to conditions of service, when it comes to our health people. For right now that you are the Vice President, what can you do to help these pharmaceutical, doctors who are, contemplating on suing the Ministry of, Health? My second question borders.
One question.
So my question, the second question is about perception. Boss. The perception is very, very important.
I'll come out to you.
Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is Nana Yakese. I work with PCF. You have promised abolishing bed tax, e-levy, flat import duty, one-time tax amnesty, among others. If you really believe that that is what Ghana needs, why should we wait till you become the president and not implement it now?
I need to go with this. I see something like.
Good evening, Your Excellency. So, my question is coming from a group of students on scholarship abroad. They are concerned that the scholarship secretariat is not doing what it has to do for them. At page 27 of your manifesto, you speak about harmonizing public scholarships. And there's a purpose for it. You say the purpose is to give full visibility. Beyond the visibility, what will you do about this now and not later? There are some of them, for 20 months, they have not received their stipends. In a number of universities in the UK, in Warwick, Coventry, Nottingham, they are under threat of losing their studentship. In Birmingham, 11 of them have already been withdrawn and they are facing deportation. Will you inquire, particularly knowing about the Fourth Estate's investigations, that scholarship bonanza, about what appears to be a racketeering in that place? And will you forbid and prohibit politically exposed persons wealthy enough, known in society, from accessing these scholarships? Thank you.
I think the question is very well. After then you go to the regions. We've done plenty. Accra, Western North. Please give the microphone to the Western North guy. We've done Eastern, we do Western North, we'll do the other regions as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Esposito Inogedusei. I work with the Beat FM. Somewhere in last year, the former President Mahama on his campaign tour in Western North region claimed Cocoa Board is on the verge of collapse. Do you believe Cocoa Board has collapsed? And what is your plans for Cocoa Board? I don't want to go deep. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabi Yafe.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Sabi Yafe. I work with CTFM in Channel 1 TV. So a few meters away from us is the site for the construction of the National Cathedral. We know huge sums of money have been sunk into the project. What will you do about it if or when you become president of this country? Thank you very much.
Excellency, please take these questions and
you urge your supporters to refrain from attacking journalists, especially during electioneering, as we are in some few months to go? And also, how will you deal with your supporters who act in such a manner? The second question, Your Excellency, the media industry is currently facing serious financial distress. Some media houses are folding up, and there are hints of imminent sale of state-owned media. What are your thoughts on selling the state-owned media, and how would you help the media industry to overcome the financial distress if you are elected as president? Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
thank you. So only the GJ.
Welcome to FEMA FM for the East Regional Capital. My question is very short. Is there anything you have disagreed with in this government as a vice president? Thank you.
Good. From Ashanti Isha FM.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Vice President. My name is Sheldon. I work in Lab FM in Kumasi, subsidiary of the Multimedia Group. Listening to you last Sunday and also reading your manifesto, and you're giving us an abridged version. When you go to the page 23 and 24, you are tackling
the side issue of the national amputee team. They apparently won the African Amputee Championship. They are owed per diems and bonuses and have not been paid. And they feel very neglected. And we all know that the strength of every nation is determined by how well they treat the vulnerable in society. In your manifesto, you talk about building 6 new stadiums in the 6 new regions. Currently, we have 5 major national stadiums and only one, that's the Kumasi Sports Stadium, is fit enough to host a FIFA or CAF organized senior national team game. So I want to know what motivated that decision. And since we are even struggling to maintain 5, how well can we do if we have 11? Thank you.
Thank you, Kankam. We'll do. So, give a microphone to Oheneni, please. It's right there.
Now on transportation, your solution is bringing in, one of your solutions is bringing in electric vehicles for public transport. And last Sunday, you did indicate that you're expecting about 100 of them before December. I have 3 questions on that. We know EV vehicles are mostly charged. We have public charging systems that we use to, power these buses to ply our roads. When you check the Energy Commission website as of this evening, we have only 5 public charging ports in the country, 5. And 2 of them are actually for Porsche cars specifically. Then 1 at the Total Energy Station at the Liberation Road. So between now and December, where are we building the charging port? Is the government building it? What's the source of fund? Is it a private sector or is it PPP? So that's my question 1.
Thank you.
Then question 2. No, under it. Under I'm not done.
Mostly directly related to
yes, it's the EV.
Let's refer to the others and make it short.
Okay, so still on the EV, we know that most of these charging ports for green mobility innovations, they must be powered with green energy. So are we already adding on to our energy mix, which is the brown, making it counterproductive, or we build dedicated solar panels for this charging port? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think we'll go to this side before we come back. So go back first. Don't worry, we'll keep moving to every road.
Thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Vice President, so throughout your campaign, I have noticed that you've been talking about job creation and support for businesses. I've also taken the page to read all the 260-page manifesto that you launched a week ago. And I see that the golden thread in that manifesto is also the creation of jobs. But the young people in Ghana are asking, really, where would they find themselves in that manifesto? How are you going to create jobs for the young people of this country? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Obafos. I think at this point, His Excellency will take the questions and we don't have a chance. Your Excellency.
Excellency, my name is Oheneni Adazwa, Sumpa TV, Sumpa Radio, Kumasi.
Yeah, Ross.
In your manifesto, page 24C, you did mention something about flat rate. So let's say somebody import car engines and somebody second-hand clothing. Are they going to pay the same amount? I think we need better and further particulars. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Teachers, and we give them the opportunity of having cars. We know our minimum wage and where it stands. And the tripartite committee view it to 18.44 cities. The standard of living in Ghana is going high. Your Excellency, what will you do for 90% of people who are seated here today to carry your message on? They are journalists. Thank you.
State, Your Excellency, sorry. You highlighted 14 key promises in your manifesto, but none of them were apportioned timelines on it. So how can you hold you accountable if not? Because it seems to become mere political rhetoric. Thank you. Okay, Brian from GH1.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Ibrahim Hassan, GH1 TV Star FM. Your Excellency, of course, forgive me for taking you back. In 2016, when we were on the campaign trail, you had this declaration, and it's a very famous one. Parents are suffering, students are suffering, traders are suffering, Pensioners are suffering, drivers are suffering, contractors are suffering, civil servants are suffering, farmers are suffering, fishermen are suffering, men are suffering, women are suffering, children are suffering, and Ghanaians as a whole are suffering. May I know the status of suffering of these individuals today?
And as at the time you were making this statement, a dollar to CD was 3 cedis and above, or about 3 cedis, 4 cedis, right? Thank you. 2024, a dollar to a cedi is 15 Ghana cedis, about 15 Ghana cedis. Okay, over 15 Ghana cedis. Thank you. How do I explain this to my mother, a cocoa seller, that in 2014 the fundamentals were weak? In 2024, where a dollar is now 15 cedis, the fundamentals are not weak, but the prices of goods and services are high today. Thank you.
Okay. No. Yes, let our grand come and then you come. I want to get more of the ladies up.
I'm sure your family have not put I'm here, the one on TV, and the film. Now, my son is yes, but I did kind. But I share Dr. Bawumia, Nation Share for Friday, Ebelcom, Etia Galamsey. I had your son, my no comanche, and watching so. A from place 2016 MPP share go football, a some of the bridge and better from soon so. A person who knows which is could do Coco Sports Stadium so. A person who may be at piano, a war assassin now with us.
So say in the first 100 days, if Ghanaians decide to vote for you, what would be the things you would want to tackle first?
Thank you. Let's take a
president of the GJA first on commitment to media freedom. And I think that commitment is very absolute. I think the press and people have fought and have lost their lives even to get press freedom or media freedom in this country. A lot of the times we take it for granted, but I think that media freedom and is so pivotal to the whole democratic exercise that we are embarked on. If you don't have media freedom, you have a difficulty. I mean, the lack of media freedom is a characteristic of societies which are more dictatorial. And I think one of the things about Ghana that everybody who comes here really appreciates is the freedom of the media. We talk a lot on radio, TV all day. And so I'm very committed to this because I'm inherently someone who is very committed to democracy. And I don't think that anyone should attack a member of the press for doing their job. And so we will totally be against that and ask all our supporters to refrain absolutely from doing that, because that undermines the very democracy that we are doing. So I think that one is clear. The issue of stealing state-owned media, I am not aware that anything of that nature has come to cabinet, but should it come, there has to be a justification for it. We'll await any such thing that will come. I'm not aware that there's a proposal to sell the state-owned media. But if it comes, it has to be justified, and of course, a big decision like that will have to be undertaken with a lot of consultation of stakeholders. The third question as I said, third question is about what the former president supposed to have said about me being an economic messiah, supposedly, who has failed. Sometimes I get a little surprised and amazed the former president when he talks about economic mismanagement, because he should know his own record. I mean, we don't all have short memories. We really don't all have short memories. His record in economic management, what he left us with in 2016 was an abysmal record. It's just an abysmal record. We had endured doom so for 4 years with all the destruction of industry and livelihoods that happened. People died because of doomsday. Hospitals. The National Health Service was virtually collapsed. Remember, we are basically back to a cash and carry system. The National Ambulance Service was virtually dead. We had maybe about 37 ambulances for the whole country. Unemployment as a result was very high. Agriculture, GDP growth had declined to 3.4%. 3.4%. Agricultural growth had declined to 2.9%. Of course, industry growth had collapsed because of doomsday. Unemployment was high. There was a freeze on public recruitment as a result. And the banking sector was on the verge of collapse. We had, as a result, the cancellation of teacher training allowances, the cancellation of nursing training allowances. You had a 3-month pay policy for teachers, work for 3 years and be paid. Many children could not attend senior high school because of difficulties of paying fees and so on. You had many, many challenges that he left us with. So when you juxtapose that record with what we have been able to do in these last 8 years almost, it's really night and day. We have created at least 2.1 million jobs. The latest number I saw was 2.3 million, but let's say at least 2.1 million jobs in the last 7 years. And this is hard data I'm talking about, 2.1 million jobs. We've kept the public sector workers employed and fully paid through the COVID pandemic. We didn't lay anybody off. And if you look at it, we've built more roads, 3 times more the length of roads than what he did in office. We've built more railway than any other government in the Fourth Republic. Expanded rural telephony. There were 78 sites for rural telephony when we came in. Today there are 1,008 sites for rural telephony. We built more libraries, public libraries, than any other government. I mean, his time he built only 8 years, 3 public libraries, 8 years. And we've built 54 public libraries in 8 years. We've constructed about 12 major fish landing sites across the country. Xim, Dixco, Moree, Mumford, Winneba, Senyabriko, Gomoa, Fete, Teshi, Osu, Ekumfi, and Fasima. Constructed 2 fishing houses in Elmina and Jamestown. Constructed more sanitation facilities, 817, than any other government in the Fourth Republic. This has increased the proportion of the population with access to toilet facilities from 33% in 2016 to 80%. And 5,400 communities have been declared open defecation free. We built more sports facilities in Ghana than any other government in the Fourth Republic. Whether you're talking about Botema, the University of Ghana, and so on. When we came into office, there were only 3 astroturfs in the whole of Ghana. The whole of Ghana, 3. Today you have over 150. We've abolished the 3-month pay policy, constructed 120 courts we're constructing, 80 have been completed with bungalows, and we've kept the lights on. Large broadly in the last 8 years. We've restored teacher and nursing training allowances. We've increased the beneficiaries of scholarships by 70%. And the national health insurance is now being extended to cover sickle cell patients with hydroxyurea, very expensive drug. I led the negotiations for that to happen. We have extended the national health insurance to cover childhood cancer, extended the national health insurance to cover kidney dialysis for over 60s and under 18s. We saved the deposits of 4.6 million bank depositors who really were going to lose their deposits if those banks were not saved. I don't understand whether the former president has taken his time to actually understand what happened in the banking sector. Some atrocious things happened. And this is why these banks had to be saved. They were not collapsed, they were merged into other banks. And we know banking depositor lost 1 cedi. Everybody maintained. But you had very bad things happening. Some of the banks broke all the rules and extended loans way above the single obligor limit. They were given, in some cases, 1 billion cedis by the Bank of Ghana to help facility. And they used that money to go and set up Capital Bank instead of rescuing the problem that they had. They took the money from the central bank and went to set up another bank, which was also collapsed. Some took money and went and invested in private property. So it was against this background when the governor came to report, and this was one of my nightmares as in the last 8 years. I couldn't sleep that night. And the banking system, most people didn't understand how close we were to a collapse of the entire banking system. But we were this close because all it would have taken was for a few depositors to go to UT Bank or UFT and they'll tell you there's no money. What would happen? There would have been a complete run on the banking system in Ghana. We would have collapsed the banking system. When the governor came to report that we were on the verge of collapse, decisions had to be taken to save the banking system and to save depositors. And this is how come we had to merge many of these banks into other banks. And we saved 4.6 million depositors. I will ask the former president, if he hasn't read, to go and read the receiver's report, or to go and read the Bank of Ghana report, and acquaint himself before making any further comments on matters he clearly does not understand. He needs to get an understanding before you make comments. And you cannot hand over a bank's license to them. This is subject to legal procedure. You have to go to court. You don't have the power in our constitution to do that. And I'm surprised sometimes because he has been president before and he should know these things. He should know these things. Ladies and gentlemen, we have tripled the capitation grant per child since we came into office, from 5 cedis to 15 cedis. And what is interesting also is that we've had the lowest increase in electricity tariffs in recent history. Between his time, 2009, and 2016, when they were in office, the average annual increase in electricity tariffs was 50% a year. That's the average. Some of the years were 80%. This is the lowest average increase of any government since 1992. Any government since 1992. When we came in, in our first term, we abolished and reduced 21 separate taxes. And we reduced import duties by 50% between 2019 and 2021. 50% reduction in import duties. And that, of course, we had to go back on that when we got into the crisis. We introduced the National Rental Assistance Scheme to help to deal with this problem of rent advance. And it is one of the best schemes that we have seen. It has worked very well, and we are going to expand it for the rest of the country. We are going to put in serious money, because with that, you don't need to pay 2 years rent advance. You will pay the landlord and you just pay monthly, and it's working, and of course, working with the private sector. Infant mortality under our government has come down from 37.9 in 2016 to 31.7. And in terms of LEAP, livelihood empowerment against poverty, we have increased payments almost tenfold, from 49 million that we used to pay every year to 423 million LEAP payments. Now, National Health Insurance, NHIS expenditure has also gone up from 1.1 billion to 6.8 billion. During COVID, we had free water for everybody for a year and free electricity for lifeline consumers and all of that. We brought in over 4 million beneficiaries now under school feeding, up from 1.6 million. We've absorbed the examination fees for all students of BC and WACC. People were sacked from examination centers for not paying examination fees before we came into. We've doubled the number of student loan recipients from 30,000 to 58,000, almost double. We've also, of course,
I've already indicated that we have media representation from every region here in this room with us. And so the numbers are large. We have here, Your Excellency, 200 media persons from across the country. So they are ready to have a very fruitful interaction with you. I will go straight to business of the day, and I would invite our campaign chairman, Honorable Dan Butwe, to give us a brief welcome remarks, and then we'll continue the event. Please put your hands together for Honorable Butwe, the campaign chairman for the Bawumia campaign.
With 100% access to financial inclusion. What is interesting is that when I first made a statement and I said Ghana was the first country in Africa to have mobile money interoperability between banks and Momo accounts, some people decided to fact check me, and they said that I was wrong. I guess that they didn't understand the terrain, the fact checkers. So I took my time to explain to the fact checkers exactly what was happening in the field. Unfortunately, once they understood it, they didn't come back to withdraw. They just kept quiet. You know.
From 1992. And those of you
constituency one ambulance, and we are making a lot of progress in that direction. So I think that, I mean, what is clear, I don't have to go through every sector. The data, for me, I speak only with data. The data is very, very clear that we have, our government, we have outperformed the government of former President Mahama in the management of the economy in virtually every sector. Virtually every sector. You tell me whether it's GDP growth, whether it's per capita income, whether it is industry growth. I mean, virtually every sector we have outperformed. So he either does not read or he does not understand the data. He needs to do one of the two. Take his time to read the data and understand what it is before he comes out to speak, because he will speak out of ignorance. Because if you understand the data, and I believe that as a former president, he does understand the data. He must understand the data. And I believe that is why he doesn't want to debate me. I believe so. That is why he doesn't want to debate me. He's running away from that. So if, according to him, we have mismanaged the economy in the midst of a global crisis, if our mismanaged economy is outperforming you in virtually every sector, this economy that you are saying has been mismanaged. We are performing you in GDP growth, in per capita income, in gross international reserves, in every sector, roads, hospitals, schools, everything. Free SHS, all of that. If this is a mismanaged economy that is outperforming you in your economy that had no global crisis, no crisis at all, but you couldn't afford chalk. You couldn't afford chalk, but there was no crisis. So if our mismanaged economy is performing better than your better managed economy, then in that case, you must not have been very good. Let me put it mildly. I was going to say incompetent. Because our bad economy is much better than your good economy. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so I think that the matter, I hope that this matter can be settled. There's no way he can say that his economy that he managed as president. By the way, I'm not yet president. In another 3 months, inshallah. Yeah, I mean, let us settle this matter. And you are members of the press. You read the data, you follow the data, you know the data, you know that we have done better than him. So why does he want to come back? I mean, it's like you go for an exam with someone in school. You score 70%, they score 30%. And you want to convince people that they are better than you. It doesn't make sense in that sense. So I seriously believe that statement, that we have failed. Of course, we've had challenges. Nobody can say we haven't had challenges. We have had challenges, serious challenges. Challenges that have kept me up at night. In 2022, that was a horrible year for us. 2022. Petrol prices went up to 23 cedis per liter. We were losing reserves so badly, and you saw food prices going up and all of that. That was a real challenge that we had to deal with. And this is why we came up with the whole Gold for Oil, Gold Purchase program. And that has really helped us. Today, Ghana today, notwithstanding all the challenges, we are the 10th lowest price in terms of petroleum in Africa, the whole of Africa. Ghana is number 10 in those of lowest prices of petroleum products. We are number 10, 10th lowest. The lowest is Libya. Then you move through Egypt and Sudan and all of those to come to number 10, which is Ghana. Ghana, we're priced around 13, 14 cedis per liter right now. Cote d'Ivoire is priced 23 cedis per liter. As Hassan was just telling me earlier on when I asked. 10th lowest. We still want to bring it lower. But in 2022, at the time I announced Gold for Oil program, and I said we had to attack this thing with Gold for Oil, the prices were 23 cedis per liter at that time. So we've had challenges. It's not, everything is not where we want it to be, but I believe that we can work better. But I don't think the former president can lecture us on economic management. He just cannot. His record will not allow him to lecture us on economic management. Is there anything you have disagreed with in this government? The issue fundamental to government. When we sit in cabinet, we argue on many issues, and everybody brings their mind. And sometimes your view prevails, sometimes it doesn't prevail. But once we take a decision, it is a collective decision. And so I cannot come out and say that the decision that we collectively took, I disagree with. No, I'm bound by it. That is the nature of cabinet responsibility. The question had to do with the rising cost of living, and I'm very happy you are raising these issues on the EV, electric vehicles. You're right, one of the ways that we want to reduce the cost of living is through bringing in public transportation, the electric buses. And, so that is what is going on. We're bringing in about 100 to start with to essentially do the pilot for it. And the issue that you raise is a very, very fundamental one, which is the charging stations for these electric buses. And I must tell you that Metrobus is working very, very hard as we speak to put in the charging stations. So we will have the charging stations in place by the time the buses get here. So that is clearly a very, very important one. And the issue of green energy, whether you're going to try to bring in solar to charge these batteries, I think it is definitely going to be important. Because in general, if you read that particular chapter, I want Ghana to move towards solar power. And this is where I think we should be going. And this is why I want us to bring in 2,000 megawatts of solar power in the next 4 years to really bring down the cost of power. And we've seen some work already being done by Way Power in terms of the solar area, but we're going to really expand it. So in terms of all these buses, all these government buildings, all the schools and so on, I want to move them all towards green energy. solar power, and I think that is where we should be going. I think that the other question was on job creation for the young people. I think that is at the heart of the manifesto, that you want to essentially move to create the environment and put in place the policies that will help business and that will help jobs, right? So that's why we're talking about bold solutions for business and jobs. I think that is so critical. And I think that there are many areas that we are touching on for the young people to get the jobs. I think that, I mean, the two are very linked, business and jobs. If you let businesses grow, then the jobs will also be created. And so we are looking at helping businesses grow by putting together our implementing our legally backed Ghana First policy, so that the procurement by the public will be focused on things that are produced in Ghana first before they look outside. So that is a very important part of the policy mix that we are coming with. That will make people hire more, and we will get more jobs in that sense. We also have a major tax program of tax reform to make the business environment very, very good and easy to comply with. So we're bringing in a flat tax system as exists in Estonia. We are also bringing in a tax amnesty for business so that we can all start on a clean slate and move forward. We believe that, you know, training the youth will be very, very important. So the investment that we're making in TVET will continue. The focus, we're setting up an open university with a focus on ICT, TVET, and also the whole STEM area as well. So we want to do that, but we also are trying to get our youth trained in digital skills. I have a program for 1 million youth to be trained in digital skills, which is a broad area of training for the youth, because the jobs these days are increasingly more in that space. And I think that we can have a situation where a lot of our youth are here and they are working, whether in America or the US or Canada, right from Ghana here, and so on. So these are some of the areas that we think we're going to get going, the infrastructure area and so on, that will expand the economy so that we can create more jobs for our people. And of course, setting up the SME bank, setting up, you know, the credit scoring system to allow people to get credit and move Ghana towards that system. We may have some time to talk more about some of these, but these are some of the areas we want to get the youth totally involved and empowered to get jobs. Thank you very much. I'll take
it. But at this point,
the pharmacists are my very good friends. But they are talking about 322 pharmaceutical doctors who are threatening to sue the Ministry of Health for their allowances. Again, I want to take this one up. This is the first time I'm hearing about this particular issue. I think it is Sheldon who raised it. I'm not aware of it, but I think it's an important issue that we should really resolve. So we'll talk to the Ministry of Health and Finance. Thank you very much.
We'll take Kankam question.
For imported, the incentives would only be for imported vehicles, because you just said you will provide incentives. Clearly, under President Kwadwo, there were incentives for healthcare workers and also for teachers to bring in vehicles, and they will waive the import duty, and that basically worked but was abused. We think that with digitalization and the unique identity of people, we can better monitor the situation. But the issue is that we need to be able to see how these teachers and these nurses could also acquire with the necessary incentives from the local manufacturing companies. I mean, as you know, the numbers of teachers and nurses are very, very large relative to the production capacity of some of the firms here. But we are leaving that open to discuss with them and with the manufacturing companies here to see how we can incentivize. Our preference clearly is to buy local. And so we will work with them to see how best, if they can meet the terms in terms of production on time and all of that. I think we will try to incentivize them. But we will leave it open for discussion, and that's what we've done. The other issue was that we wanted to do these tax reforms, import duty, flat tax, tax amnesty, and so on. Why don't I do it now? And why do I want to? I must have a manifesto, otherwise if I do everything now, if I could, what would I do when I come into office? I mean, how can you do everything now? Even President Mahama, former president, who was president, I'm only vice president, but he was president. Why didn't he do everything then? Why is he coming back? He had full authority. I don't have full authority. The budget that has gone to Parliament, which has been passed, is not my budget. Is it my budget? It's not my budget. The budget goes in the name of the president. It doesn't go in the name of the vice president. But when you have to think about what new do you want to do, you come up with new ideas. And I've come up with new ideas which I want to do when we come into office. Everyone who is running for office, whether you are Kamala Harris or you are Bawumia, you will still have to think about what you have to do when you get into office. And this is why I'm presenting my new ideas as to what to do. Samson talked about the scholarship students and all of that. And I think this is a very, very important issue. There's nothing more heart-wrenching than taking a student abroad and not being able to take care of them in those circumstances. And I think that I believe, and this is what we are saying, that one needs to, first of all, harmonize these databases so that you have full visibility and transparency. And also, we have undertaken in the manifesto to publish all the beneficiaries of all of these scholarships as they come, so that everybody knows who is getting the scholarships and so on. And again, I've been made very aware of this issue. It's not new, because students have even, and parents have gotten in touch with me about the awards and scholarships and so on. So we're talking with the Ministry of Finance and the Scholarship Secretariat. I think they were able to make some payments to some of the UK students and so on. But we will follow up on it because it's very urgent. Cocoa Board is on the verge of collapse. I'm not aware of that, but we'll look at that. I cannot comment on that. It's not. I don't know where the data is coming from. Then the National Cathedral. National Cathedral, again, it's a very, very important issue because I mean, taxpayers' money has gone into it, and many people would like to see it completed. And I believe that one should have an engagement with the churches and all the stakeholders for us to see how best to get the funding to complete the project. But I think that we need to sit down and talk if the design has to be looked at again to make sure it can be completed. We have to put everything on the table, but I will be minded more by the churches and the church leaders and the discussions that we should have with them on the way forward. But I think it's an important issue. Thank you.